Hello, good morning everybody. This is Mukherjee working as Associate Professor in St. Peter's Indian College, Hyderabad. Today our point of discussion is dialectics. So it's a beautiful, wonderful concept, dialectics. So what is dialectics? Once again, di means two, but it is not two, it is two equivalent opposites. Two equivalent opposite charges, we call it as dialectics. Right. Let us take, once again, let us start from a simple basics. How exactly the matter is classified? Or how exactly we want to define the universe? The universe is defined, or universe is made up of only two things. What is it? Matter and energy. And how is matter classified? Matter is classified to solids, liquids, and gases. And liquids and gases, they don't have a specific physical properties. Of course, they have chemical properties and physical chemical properties, but they don't have a definite shapes, other things, physically in a macro world. But solids, they have a definite thing. That's the reason why we are interested mostly in solids. And these once again solids are classified into two categories. What are they? One is crystals, the other one is amorphous. Now, what is the difference between crystals and amorphous? Crystals, they have a regular properties. Amorphous, they don't have regular properties. That is what the difference is. How? Let us take a diamond. Let us take a diamond. From that diamond, let us remove a small piece of diamond structure. This small piece of diamond will have all the properties what a bigger diamond will have. All the properties. Similarly, if you take a silicon, if you take a gold, if you take aluminium, let us take this as aluminium, or let us take a gold, let us take a diamond, whatever it is. Just remove a small portion of this. When you remove a small, let us remove a small portion of this. So this will have all the properties whatever this has, because the properties are regular. Might not be uniform, but still the properties are regular. When there is such a physical representation of regular properties, we call such properties or we call such elements as crystalline. Amorphous, we don't have such things. So we are mostly interested in crystals because we have a regular properties to study. And once again, these crystals are further classified into categories. What are the insulators and conductors? What is conductivity? The conductivity is something which allows the charge carriers to flow. And what is insulator? Which doesn't allow the charge carriers to flow. So these are the two types of categories. Where electrons, for example, you take aluminium or gold, platinum, silver. There are wonderful conductors which allows the charge carriers to flow. And what are the charge carriers available? It's only like electrons. And what are the insulators? Silicon, carbon, germanium, they are all insulators. Why? Because they absolutely don't allow any charge carriers to flow through it. And therefore, we call them as what? Insulators. Right? So this is how the classification is. But why are we saying all these things? Because we are supposed to study dialectics. Why do we study? Why are we studying? Or why are we discussing all these properties? Because dialectics are insulators. Or insulators are a wonderful dialectics. Because what is the meaning of dialectics? Two equal and opposite charges. What does this mean? That means that you don't have excess positive or excess negative. You have equal positive and equal negative. And this equal positive and negative is only possible in insulators. But in a conductor, either you will be having more number of positive charges or you will have more number of negative charges. And that difference is making the charge carriers to flow, conductivity to flow, and they are called as conductors because of that reason. But in insulators, we don't have such category because we have equal number of positive charges, equal number of negative charges. And equal number of positive charges and negative charges, dielectrics. So dielectrics is nothing but a study of one of the properties of insulators. And we are going to study these dielectrics for the engineering purposes. So dielectrics are nothing but another properties of insulators. For that, we need to know some basic definitions. E, D, and T. What is E? E stands for the electric field intensity. Now, what is electric field intensity? Electric field intensity is nothing but a force experienced by a unit positive charge. Now, why unit positive charge? Why not a unit negative charge? Why unit positive charge? Why not a unit negative charge? Why can't we take a unit negative charge? What is the sin that a unit negative charge has done? And what is the favor or what is this that a positive charge has done? Earlier, when they were trying to discuss these things, what was the case? The positive charges, they called as a positive charge which emits the electric lines. Anything which emits the electric lines, they call it as a positive charge. Anything which absorbs the electric lines, they call it as a negative charge, which absorbs. Emits is a positive charge, absorbs is a negative charge. And therefore, in the earlier cases, it was quite comfortable enough to calculate the number of lines per unit area which are emitted. It was very easy, it was easy to understand the number of lines which are emitted per unit area, and therefore they call it as what? The number of lines emitted or the electric charges. What is electric field? The force experienced by unit positive charge. unit positive charge. But now it is changed now. Now we are in a modern quantum world or a modern world, and therefore it is defined. Now what it is defined? It is defined as the number of, it is nothing but a force experienced by a unit charge. It can be positive or negative in material. So that is what we call it as E, electric field intensity, force experienced by unit positive charge or unit charge. Next, what is D? Dielectric displacement. Now what is dielectric displacement? I'll give you a very simple example. Dielectric displacement. For example, I'm teaching and students are listening to me. Suddenly a disturbance happens outside the classroom. But no student dares to look into that scenario. But their mind will be present there. Their mind is occupied. Their mind is present at that point. So their mind is displaced from the present position to that point. Similarly, this also happens with respect to the electrons. They are not going to move, but they distribute their negative charge. And this displacement, we call it as dielectric displacement. And then we have polarization. Now what is polarization? Polarization is nothing but the poles per unit area. The poles, how many poles do we have? There are two types of poles, electric poles and magnetic poles. When we go to magnetic field, we will be studying the magnetic poles, but electric poles, we have only two types of electric poles. What are they? Positive charges and negative charges. So earlier in an insulator, what is the case? The positives and negatives, they are same and they are comfortable with each other, they are bonded to each other. And when we apply some field, what is happening? They are still bonded, but their direction is changed. The positives will look towards the direction, negative will look towards the direction, but still they are bonded to each other. This is not going to leave this, or this is not going to leave this. Both of them are absolutely looking to each other. They are still bonded to each other. And this type of alignment is what we call it as polarization. So we have electric field intensity E, dielectric displacement D, P, polarization. And we have one more term. What is it called as? Relative permittivity. Epsilon R. We have this relative permittivity. Now what is the relative permittivity? The relative permittivity in the sense permit. Now who is to be permitted, who is going to permit, and what is to be permitted? Electric lines. The electric lines are to be permitted. And who should permit? The material should permit. The material might not permit the charge carriers, but it should permit the electric lines. And what is its ratio? How it is defined? It is defined as medium to the free space. The permittivity of the medium to the permittivity of the free space. So this is what exactly the relative permittivity is. So now basically the definition is given by D equals to epsilon naught E plus P. This is a fundamental equation. What is the dielectric displacement? Yani what is happening? The charge carriers are getting displaced. Let us assume that there are 5 electrons and 5 positive charges and 5 negative charges, because we can't use a poles here. It's an insulator. We just assume in this way. Yeah, 5 positive charges and 5 negative charges. And what is happening? They are getting displaced. Displaced in the sense they were in this way, so they are getting a little distracted. They are trying to move away from each other, but there is no bond breakage between them. And this displacement is happening by because we are applying some field. If there is no field, what is happening? They were in the same direction. There was no momentum. But when you are applying field, what is happening? A slight displacement is happening, and the slight displacement produced. And this displacement is making all the positive charges in one direction, all the negative charges in one direction. We call it as polarization. Right? So this is what the condition is. But by definition, dielectric displacement D is given by epsilon naught, epsilon R, E. So let us equate that. Epsilon R E equals to epsilon naught E plus P. Now bring this epsilon naught E to this side. So what will we able to get? Epsilon naught E minus epsilon naught E equals to P. Let us take epsilon naught E common. We are going to get epsilon R minus 1 equals to E, or epsilon R minus 1 equals to P by epsilon naught E, or epsilon R equals to 1 plus P by epsilon naught E, or epsilon R E minus 1 equals to P by epsilon naught E. We call it as chi. What is that we call it as? Chi. And what do you mean by chi? Susceptibility. What is that we call it as? Susceptibility. So what is susceptibility? Suspecting. You have to suspect how much amount of electric lines are flowing through the medium. And that is dependent on two factors. What are they? The polarization that is happening to the applied electric field intensity. So depending upon the susceptibility, we have many types of electricities. Dielectricities, in fact we can call it as dielectricities. Like we have piezoelectricity, pyroelectricity. We have many kinds of ferroelectricity, piezoelectricity, pyroelectricity. We have all these kinds of electricities that are produced when we absolutely apply the electric field intensity. So when electric field is applied, the polarization is getting generated, and the ratio of the polarization that is generated to the applied electric field intensity, we call it as susceptibility. So this susceptibility is actually classified into three categories. Let us briefly look into it, and after that we are going to go to details of all these things. So let us briefly look into that. What are the briefly going to do? Let us go for brief conditions. They are generally classified as ferroelectricity, piezoelectricity, pyroelectricity. So they are classified in three categories. Ferroelectricity, of course, this doesn't contain any ferrous because ferrous is a conductor. Then immediately questions would be, sir, when we are saying that it is a dielectrics and dielectrics is nothing but an insulator, then how come we are using this ferro? Ferro is a conductor. Yes, ferro is a conductor, but we are not using any ferrous or we are not studying any ferrous properties here. This ferroelectricity, this ferroelectricity is the term which is derived from ferromagnetism. We want to study more about when we want to study ferroelectricity, but still ferroelectricity. So ferroelectricity is nothing but you take an insulator, you just apply electric field. When you apply electric field, what is happening? It stores some electric charge. After some period of time, this electricity is still there. Like fridges. You take fridges. Like fridges, what is that? We'll be using one thing. What is that called as? Stabilizers. In fridges, what is that we'll be using? Stabilizer. The name itself says it is there to make stable. But what has to be stable? What is to be stable? And what kind of thing has to be stable? This is what we want to study. And what is that? Stabilizer. So what is a stabilizer? Stable. How do we get a stable? Simple. We are applying some electric field. So this electric field is allowed to pass through an insulator. Now insulator will not allow the electric current, but it stores the electric energy. When it stores the electric energy, still there is a disturbance in the input of the electric field. Because it is storing energy, this is going to give a constant output. That is the reason why we place a stabilizer. And nowadays we are getting all, what is called as a inbuilt stabilizer. Inbuilt stabilizer to every other electronic equipments. Electrical equipment especially, we are getting inbuilt stabilizer. So what is the use of a stabilizer? The stabilizer, it takes the input and stores some electric energy. After storing some electric energy, what is happening? Even there is some fluctuation to a particular level, not to a complete level. To certain level of fluctuations in the input, the output still is maintained at constant. When the output is constant, that constant output is sent to the electrical equipment, thereby increasing the life of the electrical equipment. If the same variations input is given to the electric equipment, what happens? The electric equipment, the life of the electric equipment will lost. Why the life of the electric equipment will lost? Because we are getting the unstable output input. So now in between, what is that we are placing stabilizer. And what is stabilizer? It is doing, it is trying to take the certain level of unstable input and it is giving a stable output. And what is the material it is made up of? It contains a basic one thing. What is that called as? Dielectrics. It contains dielectrics. So this dielectrics, what it is doing? It is storing electric energy and constant output is given to this. Example, capacitors. You take any capacitor. Any capacitor, what is a capacitor? A capacitor is something which stores electric energy. That is what a capacitor is. What is its capacity to store electric energy? That is what we define. And this is used everywhere. It is used even in the electronic equipment, also the capacitor is used. What is the job of a capacitor? The job of a capacitor is only to have a fixed output of electric energy because it stores electric energy. Not a complaint to certain fluctuations. That's the reason why you take any motors, any water motors. You just do one thing, you take a water motor, run the water motor. After running water motor, immediately switch off the water motor and go and touch the capacitor. You'll receive a shock. Even the circuit is off, but still you receive a shock. Why do you receive a shock? Because it is storing some energy. After maybe a few seconds, maybe after a minute, the complete electric energy will be discharged. Then you can touch it, touch the capacitor. Or if you want, if any of the people who are working in this, they know very more comfortably. When you are working on these things, when there is a capacitor, or when a capacitor is involved, you are working on a capacitor, immediately after switching off, either they will be shorting, yani they will be joining the positive negative terminals of the capacitor, or they will wait for a minute. Why? Because it is storing some energy. It stores some energy, and that is what the main job of a capacitor is. And that capacitor, what is its basic component? What is capacitor? Capacitor is nothing but two metallic plates with an insulator. Simple. Two metallic plates with an insulator. Very simple example. Let us take. I'm here. I'm here. There, nearby, I have a switch. Of course, every room has a switch. And the switch, to the switch, you have a socket. Let us on the switch. So what is happening? The electrons are coming to the socket. But I'm not receiving any shock. Why I'm not receiving any shock? Because electrons are flowing to the switch and from the switch to the socket. I'm not putting any plug there. I'm not absolutely putting any plug. But still, why am I getting all these things? For example, we take this. We take this. Let us take this. I'm not receiving any shock here. I'm not receiving any shock. Why am I not receiving any shock? Even the electricity is flowing through these terminals. If I'm going to put my finger, I'm going to receive a shock. But now my hand is here. My hand is here. I'm not receiving any shock. Why am I not receiving any shock? What is the reason that I'm not receiving a shock? The reason is very simple. Because the air is a wonderful dielectric material. The air present between me and this box that is shown there, it is an insulator. The air is an insulator. So insulator, it doesn't allow the charge carriers. It stores the energy. It stores the energy. The same way capacitor. What is the capacitor? You have two metallic plates with air or two metallic plates with an insulator. An insulator with this capacitor has increased capacity to store the energy. That is the reason what is that will be doing. To increase the capacity of a capacitor, will be dumping the insulators there. So these insulators are nothing but what? Dielectrics. So ferroelectricity is a wonderful dielectric property. Ferroelectricity is one of the best, and ferroelectric elements are one of the best dielectric materials which can store a huge amount of electricity. Then you have piezoelectricity. Piezoelectricity, once again, piezoelectricity also stores the energy, but here the mechanical energy. The mechanical energy is converted to electrical energy, and that electric energy is stored. We call it as piezoelectricity. And the other one is pyroelectricity, temperature. The temperature is producing the energy, and that energy is stored. We call it as a pyroelectricity. So we have three concepts. What are they? Ferroelectricity, piezoelectricity, pyroelectricity. Of course, we have many other electricity, but still we are mostly concerned about only these things. What are they? Ferroelectricity, piezoelectricity, pyroelectricity. So here in dielectrics, what is that we'll be studying? We are studying how exactly these elements are getting work. How these are getting generated. What is the mathematics behind this? What is the physical science behind this? What are the fundamental concepts? How the energy is stored. How the energy is stored, all these things. Because we have taken one thing. What is that chi? Susceptibility. Epsilon naught minus 1 equals to P by epsilon naught E. The whole thing depends on this chi. When chi value is far greater than 1, it's a wonderful dielectric material. And we just work on the ratio of this polarization to electric field applied. So depending upon this, what is that we have? We have the ferroelectricity, piezoelectricity, pyroelectricity, and some of the applications. So dielectrics, once again, what is dielectrics? Two equivalent opposite charges. And where are they possible? Of course, in an insulator. In a conductor, you don't have two equivalent opposite charges. And for that matter, semiconductor. Actually, semiconductor is, you don't have a semiconductor. Actually, you have only insulator and a conductor. But in general, what is that we say? We say that semiconductor, it has little more conductive properties. That is what we say. But actually, in reality, you have only two things. What are they? Conductors and insulators. So in insulators, because of some external conditions, there is a storage of energy in that. They don't allow the charge carriers, but they store the electric energy. And that is what we call it as a dielectric. Similarly, like magnetism. Magnetism also does the same thing. It stores some magnetic field. It stores magnetic field. We call them as inductors. Here we call it as capacitors, there we call it as inductors. What a capacitor does, it stores the electric energy. And what an inductor does, it stores the magnetic energy. So these capacitors and the capacity of these capacitors are classified depending upon the applications and depending upon the properties. They are further classified. Basic quantities, what are they? Ferroelectricity, piezoelectricity, and pyroelectricity. Once again, dependent on three quantities. What are they? Susceptibility chi equals to epsilon minus 1. Epsilon is the relative permittivity, and P is the polarization, and E is the electric field intensity. Epsilon is the permittivity of the free space. And what is permittivity? To permit. The material should permit the charge carriers to flow through it. So it is a permittivity, which is a constant. So how do we define permittivity? The permittivity is nothing but the ratio of the permittivity of the medium to the permittivity of the free space. And these things and other things we'll be studying more details when we are going to go into the details of the dielectric. So in short, what is the dielectric? It is nothing but another property of insulator we are going to study, which stores the electric energy, and it gives a stable to the a little unstable input. That is what a concept of dielectrics is. Thank you very much.